But when everything began despite your repeated calls to the United States and Israel, did you condemn what the United States and Israel started doing? Did you condemn the death of 170 schoolgirls? It is highly doubtful that Iran gains anything politically from this. It's quite the opposite. But we also cannot accept a logic according to which Iran's actions are deemed unacceptable while everything the United States and Israel are doing is beyond discussion. Our countries and the Arab countries of the Gulf are facing aggression from Iran. It poses a threat to our civilian infrastructure. Over the past week, many people have been killed. We know that you have a special strategic relationship with Iran. Therefore, we hope that Russia will play a greater role and exert pressure on Iran to stop the aggression against our countries. You said everyone knows our countries are not parties to this conflict. We did not go after Iran. I would like to convey a message from our countries that Russia has stronger positions on this issue and can help put an end to the aggression against our countries. We also have strategic relations with Russia, and we would like to increase pressure on Iran in order to bring this aggression to an immediate end. This would also help stop the conflict across the region.
The question sounds straightforward. It presents Iran as the aggressor, a country targeting infrastructure and destabilizing the region, and it calls on Russia to use its influence to bring that aggression to an end. On the surface, the logic is simple. Pressure Iran, stop the attacks, restore stability. But that framing leaves out critical context. From Iran's perspective, this is not a one-sided conflict. Officials in Iran have consistently argued that they were engaged in ongoing negotiations with the United States when the situation escalated. In their view, what followed was not unprovoked aggression, but a response to actions taken against them. There is also the broader regional reality. Several Gulf states maintain close military partnerships with external powers, including hosting bases and allowing strategic access to their airspace. That raises a fundamental question. Can a country be considered completely removed from a conflict if its territory and infrastructure are part of the wider military environment? So while the question calls for pressure on Iran, it reflects only one side of a much more complex situation. And it is precisely that imbalance, that selective framing, that sets the stage for the response that follows.
The group of Arab states on whose behalf you are speaking did issue warnings indeed. Many of the Arab monarchies publicly stated that matters should not be taken to military solution and that they would not make their airspace available for use. But when everything began despite your repeated calls to the United States and Israel, did you condemn what the United States and Israel started doing? Did you condemn the death of 170 schoolgirls? I believe we should adopt a single position. We are against the suffering of the Gulf countries on whose behalf you are speaking. We believe this does not provide our Arab colleagues with any military advantage. It is highly doubtful that Iran gains anything politically from this. It's quite the opposite, in fact. But we also cannot accept a logic according to which Iran's actions are deemed unacceptable while everything the United States and Israel are doing is beyond discussion. Do you see my point? It's obvious, and it lies on the surface that we are calling for an immediate cessation of the aggression. We would be sincerely grateful to the Gulf Cooperation Council and to all the countries represented here if you would add your voices to this call. Everything that is happening is caused by. One might say Iran reacted in a way that no one expected. I agree with that. A country was subjected to a treacherous attack amid ongoing talks. They had agreed to continue talking. I spoke with Foreign Minister of Oman Bad bin Hamad Al Busaidi. He was shocked to see the events take that turn at a moment when, in his assessment, solutions had been identified. So, yes, we stand in solidarity with all the Gulf countries suffering from what is happening. We call for a united front in favor of ending this war. Simply saying that Iran has no right to do anything effectively means openly encouraging the United States and Israel to continue what they are doing. That makes no sense. Let us come together and call for ending all hostilities, beginning with a complete moratorium on attacks that lead to civilian casualties and the destruction of civilian infrastructure. As is happening in many Arab countries, we are observing how the global economy is losing, at least for some considerable period, one of the main engines of its growth, and how an oil refinery is being destroyed. Seeing all of that is terrible. I have heard that your countries, I believe even Bahrain, are planning to submit a resolution in the UN Security Council along the lines you mentioned. It would condemn Iran's aggression without saying a word about what the United States and Israel are doing. This will only divide countries. I'm sure the Americans will seize upon such an initiative. It fully corresponds to their logic. which is that this regime that it has no right to exist must be finished off. In 2025, the Americans submitted to the UN Security Council a resolution on Ukraine that simply called for the conflict to be ended as soon as possible. There were some additional points, but that was the key message. Let us adopt the same kind of the UN Security Council resolution. We would fully support it. I think that would be fair.
The exchange was sharp, and the response from Sergey Lavrov was even sharper. A representative of several Gulf states raised a clear accusation. Iran is carrying out attacks, threatening civilian infrastructure, and destabilizing the region. The request to Russia was equally clear: use your influence over Iran to stop what was described as aggression. Lavrov did not accept that framing. Instead, he challenged it head-on. He pointed out that many of these same states had previously warned against military escalation. Yet when hostilities began, he asked whether those same governments had condemned the actions of the United States and Israel. His argument was direct. It is inconsistent to denounce Iran's actions while remaining silent on the role of others in the conflict. Lavrov then shifted to the broader context. He stated that Iran's response did not emerge in a vacuum. According to his account, Iran had been engaged in ongoing diplomatic discussions, and the escalation occurred at a moment when negotiations were still active. He described the situation as one in which a country was struck while talks were continuing, a development he suggested altered the entire dynamic. From there, his position became explicit. Russia, he said, does not support attacks on civilians or infrastructure, whether in Iran, in Gulf countries, or anywhere else. However, he rejected what he described as a one-sided narrative that places responsibility solely on Iran while excluding other actors from scrutiny. He warned that pushing a United Nations resolution condemning only Iran would deepen divisions and align with a broader strategy aimed at isolating Tehran. In his view, such an approach would not resolve the conflict but prolong it. Instead, Lavrov called for a unified position, an immediate cessation of all hostilities without exception, not selective condemnation, but a comprehensive halt, covering all parties involved. The message was clear. Russia is not willing to single out Iran while ignoring the actions of others. It is positioning itself as advocating for a broader ceasefire framework, one that treats the conflict as a multi-sided crisis rather than a single-source problem. And in doing so, Lavrov reframed the entire exchange. What began as a question about Iran ended as a challenge to the narrative itself.